Today we're going to look at a plugin for Grasshopper called Stella 3D. What is Stella 3D? Well, it's a generative plugin. What's a generative plugin? Well, it's a plugin that generates geometry for us, typically complex geometry that we can't model by other means. Architects, architecture students, and students thinking about studying architecture, you're in the right place. Let's get into it. All right, let's take a look at this Stella 3D. So I'm going to press the play button on my trigger, and you see on the left hand side you see geometry being generated. Now the mesh geometry that's being generated is actually through a plugin called Dendro, which I have a video for. You can go check that out. But what's being created through Stella 3D are just some shooting stars, basically shooting stars with star trails. So I love the terminology in Stella 3D. I love that it uses this Big Bang capsule, and then the output of the Big Bang are show stars and show trail, so the trailing parts of the stars. All right, where do you get this plugin? You could find the plugin over at Food for Rhino. I'll put a link down into the description. All right, let's just start a new file here in Grasshopper, and we're going to generate 3 points. 2 of the points are going to be where the stars are going to emit their trails from, and then 1 point is going to be the attractor, where the stars are going to attract their points to. So we need 3 points. So we're going to do this with some construct points. And we'll put some number slider values in here. See if I can find this point on the screen so we get a better, there it is, showing up on the screen here. There's our first point. Let's copy and paste these. Okay, so there we have a point, XYZ coordinates, and I can take all 3 of these plus the capsule, copy paste it. We have another point. Now I like to see these points a little bit better than just than just a point. Let's put some spheres so we can see these better. These are just visual cues, these spheres. And we'll, I don't know, radius. What's our default? Default's 1. Let's try 5. Okay. Something like that. So then I think I can just use 1 of these. Yeah, why not? Okay, let's bake 1 of these so that I'm just baking it so that my orbiting in, I can ZS for zoom scale, so that my orbiting is about these objects. All right, awesome. All right, those are our 2 points. I'm going to add a scribble here. So these are going to be our shooting stars. Those will be our shooting stars. Group this together. And then I'm going to make a copy of this. And this is going to be, I'm going to make another scribble. And this is going to be my attractor point. And let's get that plugged into our sphere. Okay, and we'll kind of move that over, raise it up. Okay, so we have our shooting stars are going to be attracted to that sphere there. All right, cool. Let's bake that one. I like it baked. Let me get rid of these. Let's bake this again with all 3. Okay. All right, awesome. Now let's get out our Big Bang capsule. All right, so just kind of go down the list here. So we have the B rep. Okay, that's environment boundaries. I'd say that's optional. We have the noise, the type of noise. Do we want none? Do we want random? Do we want simplex? So 0, 1, 2, 0, 1, 2. So number slider 0, less than 1, less than 2 will be a number slider between 0, 1, 2 set to 1. That'll be our type of noise. Noise factor, that's set to 0.5. So when I see something set to 0.5, I think of a number slider between 0 and 1. So let's make this 0.005 less than 1.000. And then we have a lifespan. So I see that set to 20. So these are higher number values. So I'm going to double click and set that to 65. That's how long the star will trail for. Max allowed. So max allowed, what's that set to? That's set to 50. That's not bad. Well, let's leave that. I don't want too many number sliders. Emitting speed, we can leave that. Emitting source, okay. That's going to come from these 2 points. So that's going to come from here and here. Use my shift key. Star attractor, that's going to be from my attractor point. We have an attraction factor, which is like a weight. So I'm going to do that between 0.005 less than 1.000. Okay, we're getting there. Let's get these lined up nicely. Okay, so it's still yellow, the capsule, or I should say yellow. Wow, I haven't said that one. Orange, maybe? Yeah, orange. It's still orange. Input parameter reset failed to collect data. Okay, so reset. We need to be able to turn this on and off. We're going to do this with a trigger. And we'll go ahead and plug that in just into the capsule itself. And then we're going to set that, clicking on these dots, right-clicking on them. There's an interval, and we're going to set it to 20 milliseconds. Well, let's see if I play this. Still wants some more information into this. Let's put a Boolean toggle into the reset. Not a Boolean toggle, but let's actually put a reset button. Okay, it's just a button, but it does that. It is a reset button. Okay. All right, so let's see how this thing is going. We need some things on the output. So we need our show stars. Okay, and then we're going to need one more capsule as well. We're going to need our star curves. These will be the trailing elements, star curves. Actually called star trail, so called star trail. All right, so what's driving this right now is really the noise factor. Getting that was set pretty low as a default. I'm setting that pretty high. Then there's the attraction factor, which is also set pretty low. So I get that to attract to that dot in the that point or that sphere in the upper right. So lots of little number sliders here. The type of noise that's coming out of it. Let's just hover over that. So that was none, random, and simplex. So 1 is random and 2 is simplex. So you kind of, you have a lot of variables here, as usually in Grasshopper, and you'll want to go in and you'll want to adjust these. You can lower the lifespan so they're just kind of sparkling away from and you can raise it so it's going further from the origin. And then we have, of course, the attraction factor. Just a couple key reminders. There's the reset button just to start everything over again. And then there's the pause button on the trigger. You want to make sure that the trigger is running and it's set to 20 milliseconds. Awesome. That is Stella 3D. So many creative things you can do with this now. When you think of points and weights, think of all the definitions you've done in your life in Grasshopper that deal with just points and then just weights meaning attractors. And think of all the geometry that can be sparked from these origin points. All right, I'll see you guys on the next one.